Hello gentlemen, I am Vitold, and after seeing how many conversations there are about the brilliant Yamaha Tracer 9 after my review of the bike some time ago, I would like to help you see what the actual differences are between the variants of a Tracer 9, and especially now after Yamaha introduced yet another version of it in the late 2022 called Tracer 9 GT Plus. Yeah, I wanted to laugh at first as it reminds me of a certain tech, or rather now smartphone company, but actually, you know what? This Plus changes and in fact adds enough to take it very seriously, and I'll show you what this Plus adds versus the GT version. And right before that, to have things in full order, let me show you how much the GT brings in alone, so without the Plus, and that's going to be compared to a regular Tracer 9. And for those who jump in here right off the bat and want to know something about this bike, all versions of the Tracer 9 have the same 890cc 3-cylinder inline engine with the same performance, delivered thanks to its 119 horsepower and 93 newtons of torque. The frame of the bike is the same, and all of the versions come with basic tech like ABS, traction control that you can adjust, riding modes and cruise control. There is chain drive, the same adjustable windshield, and 2 levels of seat height at 81 or 82.5 centimeters. Also an 18-liter fuel tank and foot pegs that are adjustable in 2 positions, along with an adjustable handlebar. So as you see, there are some really serious possibilities of adapting the bike to what you personally like. But that's not all, as every version has also adjustable suspension, but it will differ how it's being adjusted, how you can adjust it. They all have LED lights, but they will differ here as well. To all of them you may add side panniers and a top case, while the center stand and handguards come as standard to all of them as well. And not bad actually, right? But some things are missing, and I admit that if I were to ride a Tracer, I would like them to be here. And that's why the GT version was created. Let's see what you are getting for your money here and what there is that will make it worth it. And right after that, I'm jumping straight to what the GT Plus has more, as it adds stuff on top of what GT gets. The first and most important thing that's shouted out by Yamaha in the loudest way is heated grips in the GT, but not your normal heated grips, but ones with 10 different stages, one for each finger. I'm kidding here, but there are really 10 stages for when you cannot decide which out of 3, 4 or 5 otherwise you would prefer, and they give you 10 and are very proud of it. Lots of clicking, but well, actually it's better to have too much than too little. And sometimes before the heated grips, there is one other feature mentioned, which is KYB, semi-active suspension with guess how many modes? You'll never guess after the heated grips, as suspension only has 2 modes. A-1 with more sporty damping, and A-2 that is less sporty, so more, let's say, touring oriented, and that's it. And you still may adjust the suspension manually in certain areas, just like in the Tracer without the semi-active suspension. So that second A-2 mode may be something of interest to you, as it's said that comparing to regular suspension on a non-GT Tracer 9, it may provide you with some more comfort perhaps. And I know that would be something that I would be keen on having in my bike, but I haven't ridden a Tracer without the semi-active suspension, so I cannot actually confirm that at 100%. And alright, the next thing in the GT are cornering LED front lights, and the regular Tracer 9 doesn't have them at all. If you look inside this little upper lamps, you'll see that there is nothing in the simple Tracer 9, while the GT has those cornering lights installed. There you can see the components inside. The next thing that I personally would like to have in a Tracer is a quick shifter that GT gets as standard, but the regular one can get it if you pay extra for it. So to me, this still wouldn't be a deal breaker in case of the regular Tracer 9. And let's keep going, as the next point is the front fork in a golden color in a GT. And also different body colors between the models that actually still change depending on the model year, so that may be different depending on when you watch this. Not a huge differentiation, but it's there. And next one, the GT gets standard side panniers already, and you can get panniers going with a regular 9, and I'll calculate how much it would cost to gear it up to the level of a GT and see if the side panniers can be a deciding factor in choosing a version if you would like to have them either way. Now, the last difference is the weight. That, because of the more features in the GT, is larger by 7 kilograms in that version. So 220 kilograms from 213 kilograms in a regular Tracer 9. Also, that's already with fuel. Here we are, and see that except for a quick shifter and heated grips that you've got to pay for in a non-GT, and the unavailable semi-active suspension and cornering LED lights, all other options and accessories seem to be exactly the same. This includes heated seat, which is awesome, and by the way, the number of accessories is just mind-blowing for this model. Now, I've gone to the British configurator and built a Tracer 9, adding the same side panniers with mounts, heated grips and a quick shifter that a GT has, leaving the bike without a semi-active suspension and cornering LED lights. And guess what? It was not more expensive than the GT, no worries. It was around £400 cheaper at £12,700 versus £13,100 for a GT. So the question is, if you want those side panniers, a quick shifter, which you do, and heated grips, and then further, if a semi-active suspension and LED cornering lights are worth further £400 to you, I think that looking at the total price, it makes sense. But if you don't want panniers, then the price of a regular Tracer 9 with a quick shifter and heated grips, so still without the semi-active suspension and LED cornering lights, is £11,400, which gives us £1,300 difference. It makes a much harder decision to make, because it's down to deciding if you would ever need those panniers or not. The naked Tracer 9 is straight £11,000. However, perhaps now, with the 9 GT Plus in the picture, this is not even worth considering at all. So let's put our minds at ease and see what and for how much Yamaha is offering us in the new iPhone 14 Plus, or rather Tracer 9 GT Plus. You might have noticed the chair that I'm sitting on, which is wrapped in Nappa leather and has every part of itself adjustable electrically. If you like to get one yourself, they're called 7G11 and head to powerseats.eu. And I've got to warn you here that Yamaha have outdone themselves with the sheer number of new features that aren't that easy to spot, but are definitely noticeable when you deal with the bike. Alright then, the Shy Plus, as an addition to the name, means that you're getting a front radar with adaptive cruise control working from 30 to 160 kilometers per hour, so keeping an appropriate distance from a vehicle in front of itself. There's no emergency braking function, just so that you know. The fun part here is that it seems that you may still change gears using the quick shifter, so without pulling the clutch, and it won't disengage the adaptive cruise control. And that's interesting. And this system is also rather smart, because it will be pretty sensitive in the corners to not cause too much danger by suddenly accelerating in the corners. And also when using indicator during changing lanes. It will start accelerating in a smoother way, knowing what you're going to do up front, which is to overtake. Nice. The second thing is sort of connected, as there is a new radar-linked front and rear assisted unified brake system, UBS, probably better to call it, which will be helping with emergency braking, initiated only by the rider, so by you possibly. And that's done by building up the pressure in the brake system for when you decide to brake to avoid a collision. The system sees what's going on in front of you and can make the bike's brakes ready to save your bum. Yamaha claims that also, thanks to this radar, it will be helping out when braking in the corners to minimize the risk of slipping when braking in turns. And that's interesting, I must say. Another part of the UBS is linked brakes. So you using the front brake should also make the rear one engaged in some circumstances at least, but not always according to Yamaha. And also using the rear one may in some circumstances engage the front brake. Well, tell me guys what you think about it and if you like this kind of idea. Then there is the integrated KYB electronically adjustable semi-active suspension that in GT Plus adapts to riding conditions in cooperation with the front radar and these brakes. The next totally new thing for Tracer is a proof that Yamaha listens to their customers. It, however, tells them to pay extra for the result of this listening, but hey, well, no one can have everything for free. And in this case, it's a new 7-inch color TFT display with 3 different display modes instead of those dual screen kind of thing looking like a face of a cockroach with plenty of numbers on it. And that's a good job by Yamaha. This comes with new smartphone, Bluetooth, USB and Wi-Fi connectivity. Not only you can text but also send emails. That's not bad now. Of course, I'm kidding, but you're getting access to all of that because riding on its own is boring. There's also new full-screen navigation when using a Garmin application on your smartphone. So yes, connectivity matters clearly and brings certain specific benefits here in fact. And aside of this, Yamaha introduces new riding modes called, more understandably now, Rain, Street, Sport and Custom, which now work together with traction control, suspension settings and all other aids which in Tracer 9 GT are not connected and work independently from each other. So there you can only be setting them individually and they are called 1, 2, 3, etc. So less clearly than in the new setup. And I like that, and I think many of you may like it too. So this is an upgrade. Another change that can only be in an upgrade is a new seat, I think. Yes, I don't like the one in the GT, so the hopes here are high, and it's still height adjustable like in those other Tracers, but is made out of a different material, and we will see. A heated seat is also available still for GT+. Yamaha claims that along with a new larger rear brake disc in GT+, there are some other parts of the rear brake system that are improved. I guess that one of those are transparent brake fluid reservoirs that let you easily see the level of the fluid inside. It's a small detail, but hey, I like that they think about all those small things as well when they improve their bikes. And as for the way it was braking, I had actually no complaints myself. Then the new quick shifter still can be kind of moody and may not be, let's say, absolutely always used. At least it will let you know about it on the screen. If your speed is constant, it will allegedly not allow you to be used for whatever reason. So close but so far at the same time, right? But they're getting there. Going further, there are new switches on the handlebar that are backlit, and I hope that the indicator switch will work better. As in the GT, it's hidden sort of in a hole, and in the initial materials, it seems that it is hidden here too, just in a differently shaped hole this time. And a few last things are a USB-A outlet on the bike, side cases that get a damper system now, different paint jobs, 3 kilograms more versus the GT and 10 more kilograms than a regular Tracer 9, so 223 kilograms in total. And also, it may sound worse than the pre-2023 Tracers, as it's only allowed to produce up to 95 decibels, which I don't actually know if previous Tracers were exceeding or not, but I guess that yes, since now Yamaha mentions that, so I guess they wouldn't mention if everything would be, let's call it, all right before. So this kind of claim is usually followed by less aggressive noise. And all right, so there are 15 changes, differences or upgrades in certain areas in the GT+, and I would say that it's quite a lot. Now, what should have been upgraded or added but hasn't been? And I wish there was keyless access, a better stock windshield that generates right now some of the worst turbulences ever, and well, the stupid one-eye light design. If you want to be more visible than just with a tiny daylight running lights and switch low beams on, only one of the front lights will be in fact on. Only if you switch further to high beam, then the other one switches on as well. So just like in Tracer 9 GT so far. And come on, Yamaha. I think I would give away all those things in exchange for some symmetry on the bike in terms of lights. Maybe I would also fight like a lion for the new screen that's in the GT+. But what do you guys think? As for which one to choose, considering the value, then obviously the GT+ gives the most. But right now, still weeks after showing the bike, Yamaha still hasn't announced the prices on the websites, so it's impossible to say anything very precisely. But let me just shoot a number in pounds and say that to me the changes are worth up to, let's say, £1,000, still keeping in mind inflation and that the side panniers they are already on the bike. And that would be around £14,000, which is kind of a lot for a motorcycle still, so it's a tough call, which I think could be much easier if side panniers were not included. And I'm one of those who would not want them, and I would appreciate those 1,250 pounds in my pocket for the whole set just staying there for something else. Yep, and now an update, as later I found some information that the mentioned price can be 16,500 euros, so 14,600 pounds. And knowing this, and that in this price range there are some other options, for example in the big adventure segment with larger engines, I would definitely want the panniers off the bike if I really wanted a Tracer 9. I hope that this was useful to you, and if you'd like to see what it's like to ride the Tracer 9 in still GT version, which may still be the best deal for some clearly, then go ahead and see my full review of the bike in the link. See you there!